Good day everyone! I am Cadet Menchero and this video is about the history of MV Exxon Valdez and how it plays a major role in changing the rules and regulation for the protection of the marine environment. The Exxon Valdez oil spill was a man-made disaster that occurred when Exxon Valdez, an oil tanker owned by the Exxon Shipping Company, spilled 11 million gallons of crude oil into Alaska's Prince William Sound on March 24, 1989. It was the worst oil spill in U.S. history until the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in 2010. The Exxon Valdez oil slick covered 1,300 miles of coastline and killed hundreds of thousands of seabirds, otters, seals, and whales. Nearly 30 years later, pockets of crude oil remain in some locations. After the spill, Exxon Valdez returned to service under a different name, operating for more than 2 decades as an oil tanker and ore carrier. On the evening of March 23, 1989, Exxon Valdez left the port of Valdez, Alaska bound for Long Beach, California, with 53 million gallons of Prudhoe Bay crude oil on board. At 4 minutes after midnight on March 24, the ship struck Bligh Reef, a well-known navigation hazard in Alaska's Prince William Sound. The impact of the collision tore open the ship's hull, causing some 11 million gallons of crude oil to spill into the water. At that time, it was the largest single oil spill in U.S. waters. Initial attempts to contain the oil failed, and in the months that followed, the oil slick spread eventually, covering about 1,300 miles of coastline. And because of this horrifying accident happened in our ocean, on December 11, 2014 to January 1, 2015 marks a major milestone in preventing oil spills. That date is the deadline which the landmark Oil Pollution Act of 1990 or OPA 90 specifies for phasing out single-hull tankers in U.S. waters. That act passed after the 1989 Exxon Valdez oil spill in Prince William Sound, Alaska, required that all new tankers and tank barges be built with double hulls. Recently constructed single-hull tankers were allowed to operate, but 25 years after the Exxon Valdez, those vessels are now at the end of their operational life and will no longer be able to carry oil as cargo. The requirement was phased in gradually because of the difficulty of converting existing single-hull tankers to double hulls, and retiring the single-hull tankers more rapidly would have been a major disruption to world shipping. In 1992, 2 years after the Oil Pollution Act, the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, or the MARPOL Convention, was amended to require all new-built tankers have double hulls. MARPOL has been ratified by 150 countries, representing over 99% of merchant tonnage ship worldwide. So, what is the big issue around single versus double hull ships? Historically, tankers carrying oil were built with a single hull or single shell. While we measure oil in barrels, it is not actually shipped that way. Instead, oil is pumped into huge tanks that are part of the structure of tankers and barges. For vessel with a single hull, one plate of steel is all that separates the oil on board from the ocean. If the hull were punctured from a collision or grounding, an oil spill is pretty much guaranteed to follow. On the other hand, a ship with a double hull has 2 plates of steel with empty space in between them. The second hull creates a buzzer zone between the ocean and the cargo of oil. Naval architects have debated the merits of various hull designs in reducing oil spills and using a double hull, Essentially, a hull within a hull was selected as the preferred vessel design. Of course, double hulls don't prevent all oil spills from tankers either, but the design has been credited with reducing the amount spilled, especially in the cases of low-speed groundings and collisions. And some pretty spectacular collisions have resulted in double-hull tankers not spilled a single drop. 20 years after the Exxon Valdez oil spill, the Norwegian tankers or ASKS Satilia collided with a submerged oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico. The collision tore a huge hole in the side of the oil tanker, but thankfully, none of the 41 million gallons of crude oil it had on board was spilled. That's all. Thank you for watching.